All right. Well, here we are today. I met this gentleman, I think about a year ago when he was just getting started. And I don't know, sometimes I make big mistakes. And maybe at that time I didn't see the amazing opportunity of innovation that he was bringing to the market. I recently reconnected with him through another friend. And now I feel a little bit embarrassed, but I'm making up for it by having him on the show today. Why don't we start with you, sir, who you are and what you do?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm Fran Brisky. I am the co-founder and CEO of Hark, where we are creating a brand new way that the modern customer wants to communicate with the modern brand.
Well, in my own defense, I'm probably not the first person who didn't get it the first time around. So why don't you just walk us through? And, just being totally honest, there's probably people who, at first, when they hear this on the podcast, might not grasp it right away. So let's take it real slow. Maybe since the over the last year, you've had ways that you explain it to people. Can you just walk us through how your idea works in real life?
Absolutely. Yeah, I started the company while, especially as generative AI, which isn't new, but the access to these large language models have exploded. A lot of people have zigged toward how can we make robots sound more human? And I've taken the approach for a while, I've zagged toward allowing the human to feel heard and contextualize whatever they might need help with and take it from there. So instead of being a support center and offering email, form, phone, chat, and all of these different ways to connect with the organization, our thesis is that context drives efficiency. And if you allow one way and allow the human being to be guided through a journey, you're going to get full contextualization up front, which is going to mitigate and really knock out the unnecessary back and forth. I don't think back and forth is bad, but the unnecessary stuff is unnecessary. And by doing that, you're going to just drive much deeper insights back into the organization. So to sum that up, we live in a world where human beings are communicating differently than ever. We're all creators. We're in short form video, audio, quick asynchronous format. We give the opportunity for our customers to do that and feel heard. And then we've got quicker feedback loops with much more context so the business can take action and drive LTV and retention.
Wow, you sound like such a big tech startup guy now. The I think what I really heard there, and I want the audience to really understand. So let's talk about some things that I have witnessed in the industry, just huge transformations or differences in the way, to your point, people communicate. Here's an easy one. We are so late in the United States. In fact, we haven't even we're not on the bus. We haven't missed the bus. The bus has been gone for so long on WhatsApp. People in other countries, they live by these voice notes. I have one guy, he's a government official in another country, and he likes to say that his family says his love language is voice notes because he leaves so many of them. And so there's an example of this asynchronous, this communication where somebody leaves a voice note. But I'll point to another one that just happened. We see now in even the Apple phones, the latest OS lets you leave a short video message.
That's right.
Because it's so important to be able to, let's just call it, express yourself in the moment. And if I understand, and I'm not saying I do entirely, Fran, but if I understand it, what happens is when someone's engaging with your platform, they have an issue or a concern, or they have some interaction that they want to have with the brand. They leave a voice or a video message, and your system captures that and translates it into the platforms, the ASCII, the text, the formats, into the places where it's important to the brand. And so what the brand gets is the real in the moment feeling from the customer. Your system translates it into information that's rapidly or more efficiently actionable by the brand, and then the brand in turn can engage with the customer. And so the customer, one, expresses themselves the way they want, and they get maybe a higher quality, more rapid, or a more articulate or better experience as an outcome. How far off am I there?
Not far off at all. It's what we're seeing. And the data supports it, right? We see CSAT go up more than 25%. CSAT response goes up more than 2% because people are refreshed by this. I mean, if we look at the status quo today, you know, I think offering chat as chat has its place, but offering it as the option to engage, I think has become and will continue to be a poor customer experience, right? What we see is people come in, and if they're in hours, maybe chat handles it, maybe it doesn't, and then they go through the agent cycle, and we've all been there, and you get routed and try something else. But if you're off hours too, it says leave a message and we'll get back between our working hours. So now you're making the customer engage when you're ready. With Hark, we don't think the modern customer really wants to talk on the phone that much, especially the younger generation. We don't think they always need the urgency and back and forth of chat. We think a lot of times they're in the moment and they think, oh, I had this thing, I want to get this off my plate and move on with my day. And we cater really well to that. We offer video, audio, screen recording, and plain text. And the brand can customize the journey to guide your customer base to say, if it's something like, where's my order? Or I need to update my subscription, plain text is fine. Or if you want to do an audio recording because it's a little bit more nuanced, great, we want more context anyway. If it's something more complicated that you want to show context, my item's damaged, I'm unboxing it, I don't understand this, I tried to put it together, I'm getting faults here. The video makes a ton of sense there, right? And we're all used to it. We're showing our point of view. The beauty of that is we get on average 30% more context per ticket. One-touch resolution skyrockets, and like I said, the unnecessary back and forth goes down. The beauty there is when people do short-form audio and video specifically, or screen recordings, they provide more value. They provide more nuggets you might not have thought, right? So if you're on a chatbot and you say, my box is damaged, that's one thing. If you're on a video and you're like, hey, this is the third time this happened. Before this was over there and now it's over here. Hey, I tried putting this together. Here's where I keep getting stuck. We're taking that unstructured data and we're structuring it to your point, integrating it into the CRM or help desk of choice. But then we're providing it back to the departments, product design, marketing for SEO, leadership. What we've seen a lot of companies do is they have these NPS huddle meetings and they're trying to understand voice of the customer. And it's really words on a Google slide. Who cares? But when you can show the data and then give the qualitative side, people want to take action. How can I help with this? Wow, this is happening with our customers. Where is it? Drill down into our data. Let us help you. Let us show you. And that's where I think the modern brand grows most efficiently, is by catering to the modern customer and letting them explain what they need help with.
You know, I agree with you on all of those points, but here's where I would say here's the problem with what I just heard, which is I think everything you described is exactly right. Let the customer express themselves. Let them engage the way they want. Give us more information. All of the things, the beautiful things you said. But here's the problem. Systems like you're describing don't work. But yours does. So let's talk about that. Because I think the reason I'm back at your door is because you've got this thing working. Like, it really works. You're not at that startup phase where you have this idea. You're scaling fast. Brands are starting to notice. And I guess on one hand, I'm shocked that it actually works. But I'm probably even more shocked that brands are able to adapt to this new opportunity so quickly.
Yeah.
Tell me, how is that actually can you just enlighten me on how does it really work? Because I think we get it in concept, but it still sounds a little crazy that I sit on my porch and I'm like, I'm upset. This package is busted. Let me get my phone out. Hey, this package, third time it's busted. I couldn't find it. It's late. It has this red stripe on it. Whatever. Here's the number. Why you got it? If somebody's listening, here's my number. Here's my address. And then it just, poof, disappears into a great customer experience.
That's what we want. We want to understand what you are feeling in that moment. We see a lot of people in traditional channels come through neutral and typically after the second or third time being routed, actually go down, or the longer you wait on hold time, your sentiment goes down. We want to feel you no matter how you're feeling in that moment. So there's two key pieces that you had said. How does it work? I think from the customer and the brand side.
Yeah,
the customer side, this has to be an elegant journey that makes it really, really easy, right? So our process, we allow the brands to customize it to their brand kit and their brand tone, but we do structure the process so it's one thing at a time. It's not overwhelming. We're going to guide you through it. And the same way that grandparents, like I have 3 kids under 5, the same way that my parents can FaceTime them, even though they don't know much about computers, if they can do that, they can use Hark. Most people can, right? So we're not, uploading can be a part of it, but we're allowing the creation of the video or the audio in the moment. We make that very elegant, very smooth, and very easy. The brand guides them through with their own messaging and can add custom fields to say, hey, based on what you're interacting about, here's what we need. And I think most customers are willing to meet you there if you make it easy for them to give it to you. So that's the first thing. On the submission side, we make it very, very simple, very, very easy, and very, very simple for the brands to set it up. What we take with that data, if you think about the help desk CRMs out there, they're really, really built for uniformity. At the end of the day, they thrive the most when somebody submits a form, whether we like it or not. And we're using AI to try to do a lot of things with these cryptic back and forth messages. But if you can take that unstructured data and structure it in the way that those thrive, it's almost like an untraining for the agents. They love it because right now there's a lot of turnover for agents and they're getting frustrated because they're answering back and forth, asking for more and then getting yelled at because they're asking for more. And that's not what they signed up for. They signed up because they want to be champions for the customer. And they love getting the hard tickets because they say, oh, wow, I see everything going on here. Oh, I have a video. If I don't fully understand it, I can share it with a teammate over Slack. I'm not in the moment on the phone where I have all this pressure to handle it. And I can get them the right solution the first time, every single time, and feel like I actually helped. And then I can take that data and give it back into the organization to say, hey, product team, this keeps happening when people are trying to put this thing together. Maybe we should look at the design of how we go through the instructions. That's actionable, right? Now you're mitigating those returns that would have otherwise happened because you're helping get in front of it. That's what we're about. Instead of building systems for agents, we're building it for the customer and the org. And if you do it the right way, the agent efficiency automatically gets better and agents are happier.
It just sounds so awesome. And I think you answered my other question quite well, which is you don't change the way the business is doing business. Your system handles the experience and their process stays the same. I guess I imagined somebody having to do something differently, but you're saying you filtered the reality into their machines quite nicely. Is that?
That's exactly when we set out. We do that very, very purposefully. And again, we built Hark with the idea of catering to the modern customer, that they want to communicate differently than what people are offering. And we're seeing people start to cater back from this omni-channel approach, like, hey, this is too much, right? People are getting overwhelmed. They're exhausted from it. We've done that really well, but we built it to put the customer-generated content at the heart of the organization. And when you can do that, you can grow most efficiently through the quickest feedback loops.
Yeah.
So that's what the customers love about it.
It's beautiful. So let's talk about your origin story. Take us back to, how long have you been doing this? How many customers? How fast have you grown? Just to give the audience a sense of the adoption of your innovation. I mean, that's what struck me. Just when I talked to Ben, he was like, you got to go back and talk to this guy, Fran. I was like, okay. And then when I started looking into it, I was like, wow, you really made, you obviously have a great solution. When was the first release of your solution?
Yeah, we opened up a beta right before January of 23. And it was quite limited. It only allowed for video or audio submissions. And we found it was confusing a little bit for the customers. It was new, it was jarring. It was like, wow, video, audio, what does this mean? Is someone going to be on the other end? Is this, like, what is this, right? So,
like me.
Right, exactly. So we created 2 things. One, a lot of our customers ended up redoing their Contact Us page, which was very interesting to see. Heads of CX were frustrated because so much money was spent on the front end. Come join us. Look how inviting we are. Come buy from us. And then he gets to support. It's like an article from your help desk. Here's plain text, email, forum, phone, chat. Okay, like how much do I trust this?
Yeah.
So we found our customers redoing their entire contact us page and messaging like, hey, you bought from us. We're here to help you. Click here and we'll take it from there. Like that nice messaging that you're going to be heard. From there, we created different workflows, which companies can customize and say, hey, is your product not connecting to Wi-Fi? Is your product damaged? Is it like you can have it as generic or as detailed as you want. But when the customers see that and they're like, oh, wow, yes, that's exactly what's happening to me. Okay, what's here? And the messaging becomes great. This makes sense to create a short video. If you can do that, we'll package up everything we need, let you move on with your day, and you'll be able to track it and everything you need. Very, very simple. And I think the movement behind Hark is this reversion towards simplicity. I think we try to do so much with APIs, webhooks, different connections of this alerts that, and this does that. And the modern customer sees through all of it. Like, I've been here. I've been through this before. I'm in a flow again. Do I have to refresh my browser? Like, how can I just get this off my plate? And we cater really well to that. And again, I'm beating a dead drum here, but beating a dead horse here. But like, if you offer that up front, customers are going to open up and they're going to go on. And we get some that are very, very long. We summarize them to make it easier for the agents. But when you can pick out pieces of that and classify it, it can be so impactful back to the business.
Totally. So you started just around January, and since then you've onboarded quite a few people. You've had a lot of submissions. Like, can you give? I mean, I don't want you to give away proprietary things, but can you give us a sense of how many brands have come in and given this thing a try?
Of course, yeah. We've had over 25 brands. We've had no churn. People just want to expand. And early days, it was, oh, okay, like for a damage, this makes a lot of sense. So when we get a damage workflow, just like when we get a return workflow, we'll put you there. And people, you know, customer service leaders, like they were trying to relate it to what's available today. And when they found those tickets being so much more helpful and the workflows that we were providing, they're like, oh, so I could put this here and I could put it there. And then I can set up automations based off of this. And it all seemed to work really, really well. So we've seen a lot of expansion and more expansion into the marketing side of things. Customer generated content, you know, we all know UGC, right? So people are posting on social, and I think it's a great thing for the brand when it goes viral in the right way. But many customers don't want to do that. They do not want to put themselves out there, but they will provide you a lot more if it's a bit personal and it's private. So we've really created this movement around CGC. And if you put that at the heart of the organization and you also allow feedback on the marketing side, you catch buzzwords for SEO. You can understand what they like or they don't like better. And you can let them feel like they're more involved with your brand. Like they're actually giving you great feedback. So we have brands that do contests on like around the holidays. Hey, if you provide why you love it or don't love it, like, you know, the top 5 people win this or whatever. We have other brands like Ben, and they're using it for coaching, right? Like they do nootropics and they want to feel heard and let their customers be able to be coached on their terms and not have to join a Zoom meeting and talk to somebody they don't know and try to get that connection. It lends itself in a variety of ways really, really well.
I think there's a lot of companies out there, startups, who wish they could have 25 brands in the first year with no churn. So that's pretty impressive.
It's great.
Do you have any metrics around how many interactions you've had through your platform?
Yeah, we've had tens of thousands. And I don't know the exact country count, but we are global. So the other thing about this asynchronous nature is the quick translation ability. When you cater to customers in different regions, if they do want to feel heard, they typically want to feel heard in their native language and not have to try to speak a secondary language. And with Hark, again, that caters well. You can have a core team who are English or Spanish or whatever speaking they need to be, and allow your customers from all over the world to speak in their native tongue, but then have it translated so your agents can understand it and act on it, right? So I know it's over 15 countries. I think it's over 20 now, but we've had interactions from all over the globe.
It's just shockingly, to your point, simple to think about it. But I'm just imagining whether I'm using, if I'm speaking in a language, my language, and I leave this note, and the customer care agent gets it. And, you know, I think that the general public would think, a customer wants resolution right away, and speed to resolution is so important for satisfaction. But to your point, I I operate mostly by text, even with my loved ones. Like, I understand that there's a delay, and the fact that an agent can get this, process the experience, get the right information, and then when they go back, have the actual information instead of playing this customer experience ping pong, which can be very frustrating for both parties. It just makes so much sense to leave a message and then get back to me with a solution. It's just so simple. It's just crazy. But I also think maybe it's because you're such a young guy and this is your generation. You've grown up in this universe, but it really is interesting, this delay in communication that transforms the way people interact. And I'll tell you, when I was growing up, we didn't have chat, right? So we talked to each other on the phone.
Yep.
And there was a study done, and it speaks to what you're saying, which is that some major school or something did a research paper on the effect of chat on interpersonal relationships. And the premise was chat is so impersonal, etc. And phone conversations are so personal.
Yeah.
Well, what the study found was, one of the facts was, people have phone conversations. They call, they have a moment together that they share, and it's a high point of their friendship, or an important point of their friendship. But a lot of those friendships, you get back to them 5 years later, they're not calling the same people. And they went back and they said, but people who are in chat, they tend to have much longer relationships, because rather than having a bunch of series of intermittent phone calls, the chat communication is one friendship that goes ongoing 24 hours a day around the clock. And that chat is actually a more personal way to communicate with another human being. And I call that out because you're capitalizing on this idea that we don't need to talk in real time to be closer.
Yeah, you bring up two things. One, or three things, really. Speed to resolution increases satisfaction. Why? Because people are used to this, this is going to drag out. So you know what? I'm going to set aside 20 minutes and handle this now because I don't have an alternative. That's why. And you take that to the next level, and they get a CSAT survey afterwards. And maybe what they needed to resolve was they need a refund because they don't like your product. And they go to chat, and the agent resolves it and refunds them. And they get the survey, and they say, 5 stars, it was great. I got my money back. And they never buy from you again. And we're sitting here going, great, 5-star CSAT. How misleading, right? Like, I just think we can contextualize, if we let them speak or be heard, contextualize what they're really feeling. And how do we relate that to LTV and retention? That's a whole nother thing, but that's one thing you brought up. The second thing, I don't think chat is bad. Chat's not bad at all, right? I think starting with a point of contextualization and handing off to chat where appropriate makes sense. But we've been catered as this society to like go straight to chat to try to resolve it, because again, we know it's going to take a lot longer elsewhere. And third, yeah, I mean, I think this asynchronous nature, I mean, we see it as the future. You just mentioned the iOS update. You mentioned that study. I don't know from a customer point how personal they're going to feel with the brand versus another human being. That's a very interesting subject that I'd like to see the data behind. But I do know that there is a sense of trust of allowing themselves to just say, hey, take it. And like you said, route it to whoever you want internally. Do whatever you need to on the back end. I'm going to give it all to you. And they come back and they actually follow through. That's going to lead to a heightened sense of trust where they might come back and buy again and say, you know what, this is more expensive, but I'll buy from here because they handle me when I need it and they make it easy. So I don't know if it's a human personalization thing, but there's definitely a connection to the brand.
You're definitely striking me as the new guard, the next generation of customer experience experts. Tell us what's happening in the future for you. What's this next year look like for you?
Yeah. I want, CX has a really, really hard job. They sit on the most valuable data that the organization has, and they have a hard time managing agents like we talked about. There's a lot of turnover. They're managing software vendors because they've got these huge bloated tech stacks to make it seem more modern. And they're trying to distill data to give it back to the organization that's actionable. That's a very difficult job. It's not easy. And I want CX to have more of a seat at the table to show not themes per se, like we can get to themes through the data, but the needles in the haystack of like, hey, this is starting to happen here. We should go reach out to the manufacturer and send them this type of video that this product keeps getting damaged in the Pacific Northwest or whatever it might be. Like those things where they can send that internally through the organization and have a sense of trust with the CX team and have leadership buy in. Like we keep talking about customer service shouldn't be a call center. It should be a cost center. It should be a revenue generator. But what are people doing about it? How are we really, really changing that? And that's what we're on a mission to change, is to provide this better context back into the org. So the next year is bringing in the insights that we can send to product, leadership, whatever. We can do automated reporting. We have a dashboard you can visualize in to dive deeper into the data and really be a part of the entire organization versus an enablement tool for customer service. More, here's a communication tool that puts customer generated content at the center of your org.
Wow. Fran, I could go on, but I want to keep us in some short form content to be relevant to the audience. Fran, thank you for being here. Do you want to say how people should get in touch with you? I will, of course, put all of your information in links and connect to you when I share it out. But
of course, send us a Hark through our website. If you go to sendhark.com and go to our contact page, you'll be able to send a Hark through there and we'll see it and we'll get in touch. I'm very active on LinkedIn and you'll see us there. So connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a message. You had said about other startups would love 25 customers and no churn. We have very, very tight relationships with our customers without sounding like a cult. We feel like it's the beginning of a movement in a very positive way. And it's been, as a founder, the most fulfilling thing in the world. So thanks for having me and let me talk a bit about it today.
all right, thanks for being on the show.